What's going on, guys? Back to back, and today we got a brand new video on plug power because it was just such a tough time in the market this week. We had started off red, had a day of green, and then went right back to the red market. So hopefully, this doesn't last so much longer, but we basically have been in this red or bear market type thing for this entire year of 2022. So is it time to buy the dip on some companies, and especially in this one, Plug Power themselves? So, fundamentally, Plug is actually looking pretty good. They've been developing partnerships, getting more and more of their infrastructure done and ready to go, and they just seem like they're moving forward in a positive direction. But for the price chart of Plug Power, it's not telling the same story. And if you look over to the left, I mean, everything is red. It is just everything down, plummeted, not good, except for oil, Chevron, Exxon, and AMD. So if we look at the chart, though, we can see we were in this kind of ascending wedge here for a couple months, and it was a nice uptrend going, riding the top, coming down to this bottom, back up to the top, and we really didn't challenge this bottom other than when we broke through it. So it was basically just kind of riding this upward trend here, and we rode right through this red channel, which we've said time and time again is supposed to be a strong channel where we spent a couple months in here, getting support and resistance and blasting off to $46, but we didn't get that this time. We got just kind of blasting through this itself, we got to $32 for plug, and then just a collapse, tried to recover, and then the market just got really, really bad. I mean, interest rates, Jerome Powell, all of those types of things, macros just affecting the entirety of the market. It's not anything to do with Plug itself, just like all of these other companies. It's not anything to really do with them. I mean, we look at things like Microsoft's down, we have Google's down, and these companies are giant blue chip companies that are massive and just print money, and they aren't even being able to hold up in this environment because it's just not a good environment for any assets right now. But if we look at plug right now, we see it fell down, fell very hard, and kind of was trending down, started up, got to the bottom, this 2363, couldn't break it, rejected off, and we saw two major bad days. And this $19 is going to be pretty massive because if we zoom out, there's not a lot going on. If this will let me zoom out after this 19. So if we zoom back, the white line is the 19. There's really nothing here other than down to $13 around that area. So we don't really want to break the $19. We want to stay above that. Ideally, we want to stay in this channel here between 19 and 23. Well, all of this kind of uncertainty and fear in the market goes through. So hopefully we make our way back up to 23, maybe you can get rejected here, doesn't matter, and can take the downside hits on bad news going down to 19 and trying to bounce off again because we don't want to go under $19. But all this is still short-term stuff. The price can do anything short-term, but fundamentally, we know Plug is looking pretty good. Like we've said, the partnerships are growing out. Their revenue is growing. We have earnings on May 10th, I believe, and we're going to be covering the earnings then. So if you do want to make sure to stay informed in that, make sure you smash the sub button because we'll be covering that when they come out. But if we look at Plug's fundamentals, they're not too bad. So here we can see Plug's numbers. Their EPS is negative 0.16, so negative 16 cents. And the consensus revenue is an estimate 140, basically 143. So that's their earnings coming up. That's what they're going to be expected to report. What they have here, Plug Power reported a larger than expected Q4 GAAP loss, while revenues of 161.9 million topped forecasts and were the company's highest ever quarterly sales. So it's so much mixed stuff there because the highest ever recorded sales, great growth, the revenue moving forward, doing great things, and then we actually have a bigger than expected loss on the Plug Power revenue. So it's just a mixed bag there where you make much more money than was expected. It looks great, but then you have a way worse loss than was expected. So does it actually look that great? I think, for right now until the next 2 years, these losses, we want to see them get less and less, but we're expecting losses from Plug. They're not supposed to be profitable till 2024. So at least getting their best, highest ever quarterly sales and getting it recently is at least a good sign that they are growing, that the partnerships are working, their infrastructure is working, and they're going to be able to move forward and continue, moving up as a company. And we have here Plug issued inline guidance for 2022, seeing revenues of 900 million to 925 million, compared with 909 million analyst consensus estimate and 502 million in 2021. So massive jumps, almost doubling their revenue in 1 year. That's massive. Obviously, we're close to that $1 billion. 2024 was originally, like in 2020 and 2019, it was 2024 was originally the $1 billion revenue date, and it seems like we might get there next year, possibly 2023, see $1 billion in revenue. That would be massive. That just shows how much there's growing. And then obviously, we know partnerships. The company signed its first green hydrogen supply contracts, unveiling an agreement with Walmart in April for an option to deliver up to 20 tons per day of liquid green hydrogen. So we know they have partnerships with Walmart, Home Depot, GM, those companies they've been in partnerships with and dealing with like their forklifts and stuff. But now they have even bigger options to deliver hydrogen itself and be the supplier of hydrogen, which I think is going to be the next big move for Plug, for them to be able to explode their business and make their revenue way bit better and just keep moving forward. The hydrogen business is going to be the one to push that forward. And we already know deals like that. We had Walmart, we have McDermott. These are older deals, but still massive deals. And in addition, it's part of partnership with about 40 clean power companies, utilities, and universities to create plans for regional hydrogen hub in the U.S. unveiled by the governors of New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Massachusetts, basically New England. And that's just a big thing too. So getting a regional hydrogen hub, having that on your roadmap is massive to be able to say, we believe in hydrogen, we're going to do this, we're building up the infrastructure. That's why I'm all right with being patient with Plug Power for their growth, because they have a lot of building to do. However, we do have to look towards 2024 and make sure they're profitable. They have to be profitable by then. That's what they said they were going to do 4 years ago. And if they don't hit that, then we have problems and we'll need to reassess. But they have such big plans, and this building is going to take time. So I just think the future looks pretty good for them. And just for the earnings reports over the last year, Plug has beaten EPS earnings 25% of the time and has beaten revenue estimates 75% of the time. So that's, again, a mixed bag of good and bad. So the bad, they're not really beating EPS estimates. They're losing more than they're expected to lose. But they are beating on the revenue the majority of the time. So it's weird. The revenue they're beating on most of the time. Their losses they're not beating on. They're losing more than expected most of the time. So it's just kind of a mixed bag. But ultimately, we want to see this step of revenue goes up while loss of money goes down. And once that happens, that'll be a massive good sign. But a massive bad sign we might have just had flash is the first selling from insiders in over almost a year here. The first 6 sell transactions from insiders. You can see massive buying always here in the middle. But the first sale, April 2022, 6 sells by insiders. Is this bad news for the earnings? It could be. It could mean that their earnings aren't as good as they think they should have been or were expected to be, and that could push the price down. So we'll keep an eye on that. We have a couple days till the earnings to see if it's true or not and if their earnings report bad. But if their earnings do report bad, then this could be a leading sign that, insiders selling, they already knew the earnings were going to be bad. So huge mixed bag. Short term, plug power price can just move wildly. It's super volatile. We already know that. Long term, as long as they build out their fundamentals and build out their infrastructure, they should be able to grow into a pretty big company. And here's their earnings date. We know, I guess it's May 8th. I checked this before. I think it said May 10th, so maybe this was wrong. But May 8th, May 9th, something like that. I think May 9th is probably the date after hours. But this is what we want to see with revenue on the earnings. So we see from here, it's been a stepping stool up 72 to 124 to 143, 161. If it continues to go up, Great. Want to see that. Earnings, though, has been going down. So we want to see that go down with revenue go up. We might get revenue go down and earnings go down. So loss of money go down. But we really want to see revenue go up and the loss go down. So we'll see how it happens. Looking for higher than 162. Maybe we don't get it because of the insider selling, but that's what, revenue growing, showing growing company, increasing revenue is how you do that. So all in all, Plug Power is fundamentally looks pretty good on a price chart, not looking the greatest, and short term, lots of things outside of Plug's control can affect how Plug's price moves. But we're just going to be looking fundamentally, making sure they're growing in the right direction. And if they're doing that, then I'm happy to look long term for Plug. But that's going to do it for this video. As always, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. And I'll see you guys in my next video.